Tad Lumpkin is an 11-year veteran of the entertainment business, working both on the executive and creative sides of filmmaking. He has produced and I believe directed a film called The American Dream, which provides an amazing view of a country established by declaration and revolution and really tells the story about the financial system and where it all originated, where it is today, and how it got from its beginnings to where it is today. I am hopeful that all filmmakers will check out what we did and have the same reaction. It's not the Democrats versus the Republicans. That is nothing but a distraction. The real debate is liberty, freedom, and prosperity versus control and poverty. Once you understand that it's no longer about party, we can put that us versus them mentality aside and start making films that convey the message of liberty, which is the greatest mission statement a nation ever had. Tad Lumpkin, welcome to the Global Freedom Report.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. I love that. What I read was a quote from Tad here. Absolutely great to have you.
Thank you.
You've worked in the entertainment industry almost a dozen years. Prior to The American Dream, what kind of work did you do on the creative side of filmmaking? What kind of stuff did you do?
Well, I've worked on my very first job was working. I worked and over the years I've written a couple of scripts and worked on none of which were produced that I was a writer on, but I did work on smaller things, done a web house for a while that during the internet boom when everybody thought everything would go to the scenario overnight, and I just worked on most smaller projects, right? But the writing always.
Well, I'm curious if the kind of stuff you've done was similar in topic or was just, mainstream or what?
No, not similar in topic at all. Completely mainstream.
So which leads me to my second question, which is how did you become involved in doing something like this? How did you first become exposed to the information that you present in the film?
Well, basically, it's been a politics, business, economics, that kind of that whole world. That's always been something I've loved. I mean, even when I was young, it was something that I really enjoyed reading about and studying. I was a political and it was a personal passion. And filmmaking was something, and writing was also a passion. So I just decided, well, how do we tell these stories in the political and the economic realm by using story, which would be a far more effective way to communicate. Look at box office, right, that tells the story of things in a documentary fashion. You look at something called story narrative fashion. The narrative will outperform the documentary 99.9 times. People like stories that emotion pull them into characters. More people are attracted to that than they are about just intellectual, logic-driven art. So that's what we kind of felt like explanation of liberty and the explanation of this area with the Federal Reserve and the bank. But I mean, frankly, and almost every argument that has with both economic, civil freedom is that I think really the reason 80% of Americans disagree is because the argument's been told to them. And if we retell it the right way, I really honestly think most people want to.
And before we come to the break, I want to give the listeners an example of what you're saying. So sit back. This is just about a 1-minute clip from The American Dream.
Submitted for your approval. 1. First National Bank. What is a bank, you ask? A curious place where both space, time, and irony exist. And yet, don't. Exhibit A. Those who have come to deposit and safely store their earned monies. Exhibit B. Those who need to borrow said money for purposes unknown. Ergo, Exhibit C. The bank only has so much money in the vault to lend out to people such as you. So you see, by the time he got to you, his bank was out of money.
But he gave me lots of money and charged me a lot of interest.
Yes, that's the only way banks make money, by making debt loans. Debt equals money pile. Remember that. Debt equals money. The more loans they make, the more money they make.
But if they don't have any money, then where did my money come from?
And that's the right question. And that's exactly what this film does. This is an animated 30-minute film, and we're talking with its master architect, Tad Lumpkin. Tad, are you the director as well as the producer and architect of the whole thing?
Yes, I was sole producer, and then I wrote, directed it.
Okay, and Tad, I'm going to ask you to speak up a bit because apparently,
sorry.
There we go.
There we go.
We want to hear what you have to say. What were some of the sources of information you used in making the American Dream? Because I mean, you go into the Federal Reserve, you go into the hundreds of years old with the Rothschilds and their declarations about giving control of a nation and all that stuff. You go into the 18th century founding fathers. Obviously, this is not what you were exposed to when you were, going in standard mainstream colleges or universities or research facilities.
No, I think a lot of it is as far as learning the economic portion of it. That came from really studying Austrian economics primarily. I mean, if you read Road to Serfdom, or you look at, Murray Rothbard, or you listen to Ron Paul explains it all the time.
But how did you first get exposed to it? Because ordinarily it takes, like for example with me, I had IRS issues that got me to a point that I started looking into the law myself. And then I found out, what I've been told is a lie. How did you get exposed to the truth about money? Well,
honestly, what happened is that I had been a free market economic believer, more Adam Smith, but I wasn't really into money generation, and I didn't really see what it played. However, what happened was I became a disenfranchised conservative during the Bush years, realizing, these guys aren't for liberty. They're not for small government. They're not for any of this stuff. And when I started to hear what Ron Paul talked about and the philosophy of liberty, where it's not just, let me pick and choose the issues so that I'm for control. I just want to control the things for my favor. And then you're for control and you want to control them for your favor, which is what it seems to be the Republicans and the Democrats argue over. I just got so done with both major parties, most of the major candidates. And when I heard Ron Paul speak and I started to read about Austrian economics and I started to read about the philosophy of libertarian-oriented viewpoint, all that part of it. I mean, real money, you can't have, in my opinion, you can't have long-term sustainable liberty without real money. So you get into all of those things, and I think it all fits together in kind of one beautiful, harmonious philosophy. And pretty much that happened for me, in around 2006, actually, when Ron Paul was running for president. But during the primaries, when I saw him debate a lot of the other guys who were traditional neoconservatives, to me, they all echoed Bush, who I was done with. I'd grown up a Democrat. I was done with them. So, I was kind of like, wow, this really makes a lot of sense. And I just started to listen to him, read the articles he put forth, and, study up on the Federal Reserve. The great thing about the Internet is it's all out there. Once you start Googling it, you can find 50,000 books and articles on things. You just got to research it enough so you're getting a great story.
I'll tell you, one of the things that strikes me about you and about the American Dream, and what little I've read about you in preparation for this discussion, is you obviously have the sense of showmanship about you. When I started doing radio, I understood. I had already spent years in research, but I understood. I come from a theater background, that no matter how important your message, if you don't deliver it in a manner that people enjoy receiving it, a manner that is appealing to people, they'll never hear the message. And so I've crafted my show that way. I wrote my books that way. And clearly you have done the same thing. You have captured the interest of everyone who has seen The American Dream by portraying the story in an entertaining form, including parody references to a number of major motion pictures, Matrix, 300, Back to the Future, to name a few. Did you write the script or screenplay? How did you inject this showmanship into the presentation of a real complex issue?
Well, what I realized was, I realized a whole lot about, I realized that people don't really, they want to feel part of, not going to necessarily, I don't think most people find sales policy, background theory, see that in. What I found was that they voted for hope.
Pardon me. Bring your voice back to us again, please.
I said they wanted to vote for hope and change. They were emotionally connected to the idea of hope and change. So we felt like that the message, the package of the messaging was every bit, if not more important than what the message was. We were like, well, here's the better message, here's the better messenger, and look who wins. So that we felt was really important. The other thing that we thought was we had watched South Park and were fans of South Park. Those guys take the most edgy, vulgar tactics to make actually generally really thoughtful, well thought out points, but they use this shock level where, I mean, they've got, they're portraying children doing such extreme things. And we realized, like, you could never do that in live action. So we were like, what would happen if we could take the marketing savvy of the way that guys like Barack Obama get elected president and come up and quantify and simplify all these complex, boring ideas into little nuggets like hope and change, except we do them in little funny jokes. And then we put it in an animated world because for whatever reason, people just look at animation differently because they're not real people. There's a difference. They're coming in almost neutral rather than coming in with some type of bias. They just have a different way to analyze it. So we honestly, we were like, I don't know if this will work, but let's try it.
Oh,
and,
it definitely.
That's where we started doing it.
It definitely works. It most certainly works. Here is another clip from The American Dream.
Our Treasury is supposed to create our money, but now the Fed controls the printing of America's money. Nobody gets a friggin' dollar that the Fed didn't print. They print the money, then they loan it to the government, then they charge the government interest, then the government taxes you to pay for it. Wake up! God, I don't see what the big deal is. You're right. I forget how effective they are at keeping you ignorant. Oh, it's okay. Hey, I'm not ignorant. Do you even know what money is?